Welcome back to your passion, purpose, and personal brand. I'm Lisa McGuire, and today we're stepping into one of the most important conversations in business, the tension between authenticity and ambition. So many leaders reach a point where they no longer feel successful, and this is where they begin to experience that feeling of being stuck. The systems are working, the strategy looks great on paper, but inside something is out of sync. And my guest today is Alex Kuhn, who understands that moment better than most. As the founder of Born to Lead, Alex has mentored hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs and executives who are the face of the business, helping them scale with clarity, confidence, and conviction. And in this conversation, we're going to explore how to find that sweet spot between who you are and what you're building, how inner alignment becomes the foundation for sustainable growth, and what it really means to be all in when you're leading from your truth. So, Alex, welcome to the show.
Well, I love this. I don't know. I think what you're going through and what you're doing in this season is so vital because I truly believe, in fact, funny enough, I wrote a post the other day on LinkedIn where I said that so many business strategists get this wrong. And so there's so much conversation that needs to happen from an inside perspective, which is where I think the authenticity lies, because there's no point in really building strategy without truly that alignment and that resonance with it. So I'm just honored to have this conversation with you, Lisa.
Yeah, and you're the perfect person to have it with, Alex. When I discovered you, I thought, oh, this will be a great topic for us. And I think a lot of people listening can really relate to this feeling where everything looks successful from the outside because we want to look that way, right?
Yeah.
But something inside starts to whisper, this quite isn't quite it, right? It's not quite it. It's the space I want to explore today, the intersection of authenticity and ambition, and what happens when we realign our definition of success around who we really are. So my first point I want to ask is you work with so many leaders who appear successful, but are quietly asking, is this really it? Mm-hmm. So why do you think so many high achievers struggle to find that balance between authenticity and ambition?
I think there's really four answers. And the reality is that there's four answers that need to go together. More often when we think about growing a brand or growing a business, the mindset instantly is, well, what are your goals? Where you want to go, how much money, how many team members, how many clients. And it's just such a linear answer. And the unfortunate part is that when you are truly the leader that's out front in the business, that just doesn't work, quite frankly, sustainability. Mm-hmm. There's four other factors that matter. I do believe, more importantly, we're talking about goals in a second, but there's four things I think you have to take into consideration. Number one, and I think the first place is boundaries, especially when we're talking about authenticity. I do not show up and share pictures of my kids. I don't share pictures of our weekends because that is the boundary that my wife and I have dated. So what it allows me to do is know where I can show up and also where I'm not willing to show up. Mm-hmm. So for most people that are struggling with authenticity, I think there's this myth that you have to show everything off. And just take it from me, my biggest clients don't have strategy problems. They have boundary problems, and they allow themselves too much out in the world. And unfortunately, they're breaking down because they didn't want to share that. The second piece I think is important is just simply growth. And growth is not this just combination of outcomes. It is literally the internal transition. Mm-hmm. Every one of us can sit here and say, I know that I transition, quite frankly, almost every quarter. There is something that pops up. There is something that actually happens. There's a new person you meet. There's a new idea. There's a new concept. There's just so much that happens on a day-to-day basis that you have to accept and embrace that where you are today. And it's not about being better tomorrow. It's about you are becoming somebody different, and what you want to do is becoming different as well. Mm-hmm. The third thing is very simply life. What's your life? And ultimately, life is really so much of a complicated question. But I tell people that at the end of the day, really, if we think about it, it boils down to two things. Number one, what does our day-to-day look like, usually professionally? And number two, what does our day-to-day look like when it comes to outside of our professional? And I think once you actually have clarity on what your life needs to look like right now, I think you can be more present. And your energy just simply goes up in all areas of your life. If anybody knows me, I'm a very energetic person. I am a high energy level person. And I don't think it's because I'm trying to motivate myself every day. It's that I, more often than not always, know exactly what my life needs to look like on a day-to-day basis without having to think about where I want to be 25 years. And then last and certainly not least is legacy. People that are the face of their business are taking on the blood, the sweat, the tears, the imposter syndrome, the experiences, and ultimately, right, you're doing it because not of selfishness, and I think that's the biggest myth. Most people I work with have the biggest of hearts, but you're doing it because you want to make a mark on this world that matters. It's not about big, it's not about statues, it's simply about making a difference so that people tomorrow go better. If you don't align those four questions and those four pieces, I truly believe it becomes very difficult to build an authentic strategy for your brand.
I love that because one, it is comprehensive, but I think the first thing that you hit on, Alex, the part about boundaries, this is where I find when authenticity, and I did an episode at the end of last season on this about it's turning into this vanilla word where it's got different meanings to different people.
Mm-hmm.
And people think you have to share everything. And when you have that boundary, it's almost like a place to protect what is sacred to you, your nervous system, all of those things. That does allow you to build that life that you want. And the piece about legacy is, we all want to know that we made a difference. We all want to know why we're here. So I really appreciate that four-prong approach. How did you come about, how did you come up with that?
Well, I think the first thing is that my background as a swim coach gave me a very different concept of actually how I look at business. I'm not the person who came in from a Fortune 500 company and very much have this like very business mindset. I even have an MBA and I tell people I don't even know what I use from the MBA to this day in my business. So, and it's not about disrespecting anybody that comes from that background. What it gave me was a very different perspective of how to build an athletic program and more importantly, what matters in an athletic program. And I want to give everybody just a kind of an inside view. Having built multiple college programs to national powerhouse, there's really three things as a head coach that matter. Number one, your ability to recruit talent. And why I bring this up is that I can be the best coach ever, but if my athletes aren't talented, don't have desire, we're never going to go anywhere. I just want to focus on this part because when you talk about recruiting a high level person, high level people want high level conversations. And if you just only talk about the goals of where you want to take them as opposed to what they see and envision themselves, ultimately you'd miss the mark. And in that situation, I'd lose the talent, I'd lose the recruit, and ultimately my program would go down. So what I really learned is that ultimately at the end of the day, high level people that I speak with truly want to have a holistic conversation. So it's kind of obviously morphed into actually a framework, but I realize those are the things that matter for people. And if you don't talk about those things in a consistent basis, you're missing the mark. The other two things just very quickly is number one, are you really good with your donors? Can you get money into the business there? And of course, can you actually build an assistant coaching team that actually get the best out of the swimmers? So those are the last two.
Yes. And I hear in that too, like it's more about strategy than it is the tactics. Like, where are we going? That really makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's really good. And I think a lot of people would really enjoy hearing that background as a swim coach, a high performance program. I think that really does bring a nice little wrinkle that most people don't have. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
So as we look at a leader, that can easily get out of alignment, what are maybe some early signs that they are out of alignment with who they really are? So what I'm looking at is what should someone be paying attention to before they burn out or disconnection sets in? What are some signs?
Sure. I want to tell everybody that the first thing that most people think that's not is confidence. Most people think confidence is the very first thing to go. And let's be clear, everybody that's listening to it, Lisa and I, probably in the past month have had days where it's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right things on social media? Confidence is not the answer. And it's my mission to make sure that every person doesn't believe, well, I just don't have confidence. What you truly need is you need commitment and you need an all-in focus. And why I bring this up is that because the first sign is lacking action, is lacking speed of action. It is the procrastination. The tools that Mel Robbins and other people give to reduce productivity, It looks great, but then you see people going, I'm still not showing up. It's simple. The systems are there. I'm still not doing it. And it tells me that if you heard my bio, you don't have clarity. You don't connect with you or the people, and you don't know what's the conviction inside of you. If you don't answer those three questions, and I say this every single day, you're going to put yourself on a path that, quite frankly, you're going to look at a year from now and go, how the heck did I get here? And that's the thing why, from a leadership perspective, I advise everybody to say, what is the commitment? And answer those three questions. And when you have friction, just start looking at it and fix it
Mhm.
immediately. That's
Mhm.
why I look at the piece of like when people struggle and stay stuck.
Yes, and I think the prevailing wisdom is the confidence piece, right? So, yeah, that commitment is really important. I think also the awareness of if you don't do that, like what is the underlying piece? That's where I get into what is the root of that? What's behind it, right?
Oh, yeah. And just to kind of even add on, because I know there's a lot of the work, and I always tell people I always tell people my background in psychology in school, I learned literally one thing. And it's the thing that in some ways I think we tend to forget that there is your brain, mindset, what you
Mhm.
think. There is behavior. If anybody's watching this, I'm looking at behaviors on the far side. And right in the middle is emotion. Right in the middle is
Mhm.
the emotion, right? That is the noise, that's the path, that's the tunnel that your brain goes to behavior, and your behavior goes to your brain. And what I tell people, everybody, is that you have to choose and create a decision on what's the best path for you to find your commitment. I tell people so more often than not, for me, it's just behavior. I work out, I feel better, I feel great, even if I don't want to do it. Sometimes my mindset's
Mhm.
just simply not there. So I challenge everybody. It's like if you're struggling internally with your mindset, talk to Lisa, find the mindset coach. But I also challenge you to create a system where you're acting before you have everything figured out. I think that's going to change a lot of people's commitment and all in attitude.
Yes, and sometimes just even taking that one step, right? Just one tiny step can
Yes,
make that difference.
big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know that realignment requires honesty and sometimes letting go of what looks successful to others, right? We've done a lot of work to look successful.
Mhm.
So, what do you see, Alex, as the turning point where someone decides to stop performing success and start embodying it? Because
Mm,
there's a difference.
yeah. The first thing is what are your no's? What
Mm,
are your no's anymore? Being vulnerable here, I truthfully had moments in my life where obviously ego was the driver. And so back in 2016, I just sold a company and sold a membership brand and feeling good, right? And not saying I shouldn't feel good, but feeling sky high. People are bringing me in fractional CEO conversations. I'm getting paid to fly to all these wonderful places just so they can talk with me. And then eventually I found this wonderful opportunity to go in as the managing partner for this digital marketing agency. I love the team. I love the people. I love the direction. I love what they were talking about. And I thought this could be my home. And in about 6 months, we were cruising. I can't say this for certain, but I would be confident that we were one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing digital marketing agency in the country. We were getting client after client after client. $100,000 retainers, if not more. We were moving. And a year and a half later, I sold it for pennies on the dollar to get the heck out
mm,
because I learned that the ego of me trying to be just a CEO of a company
mhm.
did not match the authenticity of who I want to surround myself. And without getting into too much details for lots of reasons, there was a couple of us that decided to take pennies on the dollar, big company. It wasn't this amazing buyout or anything like that, and left. And it left me in a combination of shambles and what the heck do I need to do with my life? But I
Mhm.
tell people that no, saying I'm not taking this anymore. I am not going to be in this company. I am not going to do this to my wife where I come home just basically like a beaten man every single day. I'm not doing that. And so, even though the no is the hardest answer and it does not feel good immediately, I advise everybody to figure out your no's, say it right away because it's going to take time to figure out where the actual yes is for you.
Mm. Yes, and I think too, when we're talking about the face of the business, the brand is, what do you stand for and what do you not stand for? And we're going back to boundaries again, right?
Hmm.
We're back to those boundaries.
Always.
So earlier in this conversation, you referenced being all in. What does that mean to you now? And how has that definition evolved as you've grown, both personally and professionally, Alex?
I think it's a great question. I think as we get older, we have a tendency to have these experiences, and these experiences can push us in the right direction. And unfortunately, those experiences can also push us in the wrong direction. And what I tell people is that why I think the authentic conversation, the boundary conversation, the internal conversation, I used the language the other day actually with somebody that you know. I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get naked. We are going to literally strip no business, no brand, no product, no offer, no sales, no funnel, no message. We're just going to strip it naked. And I think that's the hardest part. Everyone can imagine an idea is that if you're somebody who doesn't feel good about maybe how you look or how you're showing up, right? Most of us tend to avoid the photos, we avoid the mirror, we avoid the things so we don't see ourselves. And I tell this to everyone because I struggle with some body dysmorphia. So there's days that it's just hard. But I bring this up because if you don't get to a level of depth that truly is bare, you can't figure out where you need to go. And I bring this up, and you kind of said something earlier that I want to make sure I point everybody out, is that when you speak with somebody that's a high performer, somebody who wants to go far, the most important thing is creating safety, a safe environment, a safe conversation space, and safety for them to actually really work through what they're working through.
Yeah, that's really important. And we can't help people if they don't have that safety, if they don't have that feeling in there. I have this personal belief, and people have even quoted me on it, is that personal development is professional development. And so I have an inkling that you might believe that too. From your experience, how does doing the inner alignment work translate into real business performance? Like, how does that show up? What is the shift that you've seen in either results or client relationships?
I don't think first off, I love the quote. I'm going to quote you in the future podcast when I say this. There's no doubt that if you're just simply going in without getting in touch with yourself to grow your business, for 99% of the people out there, you're just going to struggle. And let me be clear, there are people on this planet that literally have, for lack of better words, no emotion that they simply can just show up and do. We see the high ends of, obviously, of course, the people like Elon Musk. There's a bunch of interviews from very famous people that just talk about he just doesn't care. There's no emotion. There's nothing involved in it. And he's successful. But the reality, too, is that it sounds great. It sounds, in theory, wow, that make life so much easier. But there's also challenges. And, of course, we don't talk about the people that don't get the emotions and are still struggling to this day. So, to me, the idea is, if you simply are just doing this thinking that you're just growing a business, you are literally buying fool's gold.
Yeah, really true, because you're growing you and you evolve. And as you grow, your business changes, the people, what you do changes. So I think that's really important. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah. And you've often said, Alex, that before success happens, it isn't just about what we offer, it's also about how others perceive our energy. And when I heard you say that, like that perception of that, like I leaned in, I really believe that so firmly. So, how can leaders shape perception without sliding into that performance or persona energy?
Yeah. Let me give one of my favorite business quotes that leads follow leaders. And we are so trained, especially in the personal brand space. What is my lead magnet? What is my funnel? What is my landing page? What is my VSL? What is my script? What are all these things? And I just want to say this with love to everybody. People buy talent. And talent, it's not about you don't create structure, but talent is something you cultivate to create a unique competitive advantage. So when we talk about this idea, and that's why, like Lisa, that's why I love the work you do and what you talk with people about, because we have been so trained, and I may be bashing this, but with AI, with social media, with everything like that, that we have to become this cookie cutter. And I say this to everybody, and I'm going to save everybody here. If you are using AI to think for yourself before you are literally going to fall in the wayside. It's my personal belief, and I think you're going to get lost. But I want everyone to understand that you can hear the passion in my voice is that if you are not cultivating what your talent is and just simply demonstrating that talent on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis, people will not see the mastery. And that's what we buy.
That's exactly right. I often refer to expertise is not enough. Like people need to see that passion.
Mm-hmm.
People need to see that a little bit deeper. And one thing when I heard you speak a couple of weeks ago, we were both at a conference together at different presentations, but you said something about you make it a priority to speak every day,
Mm-hmm.
which I walked away from that. Like that really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes incredible consistency to do. So, what have you learned about energy management? Because speaking every day, I mean, you're putting yourself out there. It's how do you go through that energy management, leading through alignment rather than just pushing with effort?
100%. And so I'm going to say something that's going to be laughable, but I was on a podcast about maybe it's like 3 months ago. And the guy on there, he was 6'4", 240 pounds, biceps coming out of his ears, just a massive physical thing. And my family joked with this idea that we took a picture next to each other. And I'm a pretty fit guy. I think I'm a pretty big guy. I looked like tiny compared to this guy. And so here's the thing. We see him and we go, well, that guy's clearly in the gym. He's clearly eating well. He's clearly doing the things. He's clearly doing everything to make sure that he can be that. And we know it didn't happen in the year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It happened over the course of his life. Younger guy, in his early 30s. So what I tell everybody is that I have such an advantage in speaking because I've been doing it since I've been 15. I have been coaching swimming. I've been doing something since I'm 15. And obviously you cannot see it, but Lisa knows this. Like I can go all day from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. just talking. And Lisa saw an example of it going from that event where I did 2 speaking events a day and did 6 or 7 coaching events. And guess what? I didn't go home sick. So what I tell everybody is that you have to honestly, first and foremost, work your level to your speaking ability, but you have to practice it. So even before I got here with Lisa, I did my 15 minutes of talk. I answer a question that's random. That's where I do use ChatGPT. I ask it, give me a random question, and I use my intuitiveness, my ideas, my reading, and I evaluate myself very hard. I evaluate how I speak. I evaluate how I show up. I evaluate how I'm looking at the camera. I evaluate my body language. I evaluate what I actually answered. I evaluate it all because I know this. And for everybody out there, you got to pick one or two, speaking or writing. If you don't get really good at one of those two, that's the only way people get to experience with you. Period. So get really good, practice it every day. And I'm telling you, your energy level will be a lot better long-term because you're building that muscle.
Like as you're talking about that, Alex, I can picture you doing this. And I'm thinking, okay, he had a warm up before he came on to this call to push record, right? So you've warmed up, you've already evaluated, critiqued yourself. But I'm thinking about you in the position of a swim coach. Like you would not go to an event or meet without putting your athletes in the water and warming. Like that just doesn't happen. You have to warm up your muscles or whatever they're doing. I was not a swimmer, clearly.
You're doing better than most, so you're fine.
Yeah, just my exposure being in education. I've been around all kinds of athletics, but I'm thinking about that, like the commitment and the priority of doing that. But I think, and as I've reflected on the thought of you speaking every day, speaking is one way for people to experience you. But I imagine that speaking is the way that you go to the next conversation with people. Would that be correct?
100%. And especially too, that people, I think there's another thing that people think speaking is not scalable. I think speaking is the most scalable aspect of any business. You can do it through DMs, you can do it through your content, you can do it through speaking events, you can do it. And here's another example. Most people, just so you know, I don't speak to get paid at events. I don't charge my $10,000 or $20,000 for speaking, unless it's like a Fortune 500 event and they want to talk about leadership. But most events, I'm not paid. They pay for me to get there because I know one thing, that my ability to speak will help me sign clients. I know the way I communicate, the way I talk, and just having, and by the way, I don't do this crazy, like, you got to come talk with me in this free thing. It's just, hey, this is what I'm giving to you. If you want it, that's great. If not, no worries. It generates conversations every single time I do it. That's why you got to pick a skill.
Yes, and I think speaking too, to clarify a little bit more, it's not necessarily being on stage.
Mm-mm.
I remember we connected before this conference, and it's even like leaving a voice note, like you said, right? In the DMs, like
Yeah.
using that voice in there. So,
100%. And I'm going to give us
yeah.
somebody a very different example. I actually used this at another speaking event recently, at least I think that we'll share with everybody. There are all these levels of speaking that I think are very important. You can have one-to-one conversations with somebody, sales conversation, influence conversations. You can have a one-to-many conversation online. You can
Mhm.
have a speaking event where you get paid for speaking. You can have a speaking event where you get clients after it. So you can, by the way, you're going to get more money going up and up and up. And people are like, well, isn't that the, and then content, of course, you outreach. It's like, well, that's the max, right? I say, well, all of us have watched Shark Tank. That person's got to get in front of that person, and they're going to get in 30 minutes millions.
Mhm.
That's the difference. You got to answer questions. You got to hit the hard questions. So I always tell people there's no limit because you don't even have to talk to millions. You can talk to the one right person and they can generate things in your business you would have never thought of. And if you don't know how to communicate in that moment, you're going to miss, quite frankly, your biggest opportunities.
Yeah, there's a lot in that and a lot of potential to really think in different ways about our skills and how we communicate. And that's one thing I find that if people don't know how to talk about what they do or the value they bring, you've left clients out there of doing that. So Alex, as you're talking about finding clients, I'd like to just really take this time of the on the in the podcast to really ask you, who do you work with? Like, what is the problem you solve? Who are the ideal people for you?
Yeah. About to give everyone a fun story. 13 months ago, I made a major decision in my business. I looked back when I was 6 years old and I realized, oh my gosh, I want to go down a very different path that, quite frankly, most business strategists will tell you is not a good path. I've always, as a kid, read books, not The Wheels on the Bus. I read books about leaders. I read books about sports coaches. I read books about history figures. I love books about people, just people. The good, the bad. One of my favorite shows of all time is the Hamilton show. I can't think of the name of it right now, but Hamilton, of course, duh. But those are my favorites. I am truly obsessed with people and seeing them grow. And I've realized over the years that what I do better, and this is going to sound cocky, but I'm here to say it, I do better than anybody else is three things. Number one, I can help you truly grow a brand around you so you can have the financial flexibility to go in the directions that you want. My clients are obviously selling more. They are obviously gaining authority. They're scaling, so they simply do their one thing. And we have also clients that are literally building investment deals around their personal brand.
Mhm.
Everything I believe in this day of how business has been taught to people has been backwards, that you have to build a company, that you have to build one thing, that you have to build equity by it. I truly believe, and I'm telling everybody this, is that if you really want to have the best chance of giving back maybe to your kids, building a different legacy, giving yourself the financial ability to have different opportunities, you better be the face of your business at some core level. That's my person. And if you hear it from everybody here, that's where I've gone personally all in. I've changed my team. I've changed my messages. I've even changed my brand. I'm doing lots of things to make sure that person knows that that's my commitment level.
Well, and I think it's really visionary as to looking at where we are in the world today.
Hmm.
I mean, the whole thing about us having a trust recession, we don't know if it's you or if it's AI. If you're hiding behind your company, like people want to do business with people. They want to do business with people they resonate. And if you're hiding, how can they find you,
Yeah,
right?
the AI I tell people you actually have to have is not the AI of artificial intelligence, but the AI of all in. And obviously, you guys can tell that's where our brand is going, is all in. That's the AI I think most people are missing.
That's another one to add to my list. All in. I use AI for age of identity. So There we go. We've got our own versions of AI.
Yeah,
But we can do that because we're the face of our brands, right? We can do
100%.
that. All right. So for leaders who are afraid that slowing down or softening into alignment because they're moving so fast,
Hmm.
if I have to align, that means I have to get off the hamster wheel for a minute, right?
Hmm.
And they feel like it will make them lose their edge. I even heard somebody the other day that ended up joining one of my programs. She wasn't going to join because she was too busy being busy. But
Mm.
when she decided to step aside and take that time, she thought it was going to be slowing down, but it did something different. So, what would you say to people that, I'm too busy to slow down? Yeah, I may be out of alignment, but, I don't have time. What would you say to them?
Busy is the answer to the question of do you need to find help? It's
Mm,
not anything else. People think that busy is literally the reason why they can't do something. If you're
yeah.
busy, that actually is the reason why you need help. Because whether you work with a company, read a book, buy a coat, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You are truly already spinning your wheels. You're
Hmm.
spinning your wheels. Those that are struggling in relationships, they're trying harder, they're doing all the things. I'm too busy to work on my relationship there. Most of us would say, to all of us would agree that our partner in life is probably the most important decision. So are you
Hmm.
really going to say, because I work with a lot of relation coaches, are you going to say to the person that you matters to you, I'm too busy to work on our relationship?
No.
And I think at the end of the day, that's the same question. Are you too busy to work on yourself? That's the other relationship. And if you don't take that relationship really clearly, importantly for you, you're going to stay busy. You're going to continue to stay busy. And that's where, Lisa, my heart breaks every time. It breaks every time because when somebody hops on a training with me and they don't work with me, it's not about pushy. It's not even that.
Mhm.
What I tell people is that I am going to follow up with you. Obviously, automated, sometimes personally. My other coaches will do that because I know this for 97% of the people, they are going to say be in the exact same position 2 weeks, 2 months, and sadly 2 years if they don't take action.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really true. And I think so many times, I look back at the narrative that I was given of you need to put everyone else, like serving others is
Mhm.
noble. But if you don't if you don't fuel yourself, you're not going to have any gas in the tank to do that. Yep.
Yeah, and I think Lisa just saying it because we've Lisa and I have probably in what 6 weeks.
Mhm.
I'm sure I think we've had 4 or 5 conversations,
Yes.
right? It's 4 or 5 conversations, and just to give everyone a little bit of a behind the scenes, right? I got to speak to a group
Mhm.
that I would have never had without that conversation, which has landed me a client. Actually, I was going to tell you that the other day. That actually happened yesterday. I if without that conversation, we wouldn't be on the podcast, which obviously
Mhm.
is getting your thing. So I think this all idea, by the way, for everybody is that if you're too busy to do the things that are the right things there, and most important thing I think is just simply having conversations with people to start, because it does help you kind of start to see who you want to be around and who you don't. So you can't be too busy. You just can't.
Yeah. No, it's definitely worth looking at. So, one thing you work with people, Alex, as you said, who are the face of the brand, the ones who carry that vision and the visibility.
Mhm.
But visibility can be hard for people. So, there is a mindset shift that they need to make if they want to scale with this freedom and not friction.
Mhm.
So, how do you go about working with people on that, what I call visibility reluctance?
Yeah, I think this is you're gonna not I don't know if people are gonna like this answer or not, but I think visibility is the most overrated thing when it comes to building a brand and growing a
Mhm.
brand. I have clients right now that none of you know, but they are the secret weapon to some very big corporations. I have brands that have millions and millions of followers, and they are obviously growing their business that direction.
Mhm.
We have a mutual friend in Kelly who literally has not been on LinkedIn, maybe 1 or 2 posts a year, and she's one of the top CMOs in the tech space. Visibility is this thing that we hear, I've got to go and show up. But what I tell people is that you have to show up in a way that feels aligned and matters to you. If going out big on social media is the right thing for you, if that is your personality, if that feels like it's aligned with a vision, great. Go for it. There's some challenges. There's a lot of challenges, believe me, but you have to make a decision. And then others that say, I don't want the heat. I'm not looking for the celebrity fame. I am just simply wanting to be the secret weapon. I want to be behind the scenes, but the person that everyone's like, oh, like, you don't know Lisa? Like, who's Lisa? Oh my, just go talk to Lisa. Like, and they look online and they're like, not that this is you, Lisa, but it's like, where is she? I don't see anything of her. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
you just got to go talk to Lisa. And that's why I tell people like visibility isn't a strategy, but you have to align it with how you actually want to show up on a consistent basis.
Right. And I know from working with people that it is a good fit for some people and it is not a
Mhm.
good fit for others. And so I think that's really great to put it up as a strategy. But you've really got to look at what aligns with you.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, Lisa, I haven't showed up. I mean, well, you have a big audience on Instagram. I haven't shown up in 3 months. I posted maybe a couple times last week, couple times this week. And that's not going to stay forever, but and I still have my people. I still have my
Mhm.
audience, right? That's so these things that you build, whether it's social media, whether it's these relationships, they don't go away. They don't leave. They simply just are marinating, is the word I have. So, and I tell everyone this. Actually, one of my somebody I know. Do you know who Sunny? Do you know who Sunny is on YouTube? She does business coaching.
No.
She just came a video out. I was very inspired by it. She just posted this video. She's built this huge audience on YouTube, built this whole thing, and she says, I'm starting over and I'm starting a new channel because I just want to showcase more people because I feel more comfortable being the person who's behind the experts.
Yeah.
That's my style. That's what I feel right. I want to showcase them. And I don't know Sunny. I don't know what her strategy is. I don't know anything like that. But my gut feeling tells me this. She may not know all the details, but she knows where she wants to be in the business. And that's the best place to start.
I have a great deal of respect for people who do that, who are doing it because of what makes sense. Because if we have this feeling, there's a reason behind it. There's a reason
Mhm.
behind it. And if you force yourself, it's going to come out. It's going to look really forced. It's going to look really desperate. So no, I'm going to have to go find her and follow her.
Yeah,
And
I'll send it to you.
yeah,
Sorry, I don't want to butcher her last name. It's
that's okay.
Lazardi or Lazardi or something like that. By the way, like I said, I have no connection with her. I just watch her from afar. I have mutual friends with her. I think her content's phenomenal there, but I think it's really cool. By the way, just so everyone knows, I don't know if you do this, Lisa. I do sometimes stalk the people I admire from afar because I'm going through transition. So there are people I either have personal relationships or admire from afar. And I think that's always the interesting part is that whether they show up in front or not, all those decisions that they're sharing with you, everyone, just so you know, they are talking to somebody. They're either talking to me or
Mhm.
they're talking to somebody else, but they are making changes because there's an authenticity gap they just are not feeling anymore. And they don't know how to make that transition.
Yes, and I think a lot of times making that transition, like just her coming out and saying that, oh, you know what? Now she's real. Now I can resonate with her because that is what I would be thinking, right? She
Yeah.
says what we're thinking, but maybe we don't say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I,
Yeah.
just so you guys know, even like just a change in me, just so you guys know how I'm going to start showing up online. And this is not about how I showed up was good or bad or nothing like that. I just realized that there's three things I want to show up more as. So number one, and Lisa can share this, I'm very much a simplicity and frameworks person. I
Mhm.
believe we can
Yeah.
take the 10,000 word question and we can change it in one page. That's been one of those skills I've been working on. So one of the things I'm doing with my social media, getting a better, cameras and all the things, but I'm going to be showcasing those simplistic styles, right? Because I want people to see that there's
Mhm.
ways to do it. I believe frameworks and pictures actually make such a difference versus over the words. So it's again, sometimes these changes aren't just simply about like, is this the algorithm? Is this that? It's simply what feels right for you. And then the second thing I feel very confident where I'm going for, just so everyone kind of hear this, is I want to share my opinions on what is actually being put out there, especially in the brand space. I'm not a hater. You're not going to see me hate anybody there. You're going to probably see me say, I really like this. What tweak I would make or what pivot I would
Mhm.
do is this. And I think it's going to value you. So I just have a lot of friends I have respect for and a lot of places they're going, Lisa being one of them, that I think we are really trying to have a holistic conversation so we give people opportunities to see it from very different perspectives. So just
Mhm.
everyone that you're doing this content game, like just make sure you go all in with what you do. Avoid the algorithm. Try to do more things like that because you'll write better content. And that's at the end of the day, the most important thing.
Yes, that point of view content is so critical and I think so magnetic of having that. It
Yeah,
really is.
very much.
So Alex, as we get ready to wrap up here, someone listening right now knows they've been chasing strategies, formulas, or these external markers of success that we're all given, but they feel this spark inside calling them to something more, something truer. What's an action they could take this week to move closer to being all in with themselves?
Yeah. So there is a acronym I use. It's called QPRA. And what that means is as soon as you see a spark, you take an immediate action. And the action isn't a plan, it's actually the action. If you have an offer idea, go share it with somebody. Go try to sell it. If you have an idea of how you want to change the brand, go tell somebody this is what you're doing. And why we do that is not to get opinions. And by the way, this is the hard part. You do the action to see how it feels. It's like going to a convenience store when you put on clothes. You put it on because you might like it from what you see, but until you put that shirt or pants or shoes on, you don't know. So you got to put it on. So my advice for everybody, it seems cliche, it seems simple, but just do one thing. And immediately when you do it, by the way, I know this sounds crazy, don't wait. Do it immediately, because I'm telling you, that may give you kind of this whole golden like goose and like I'm chasing all these things, but it's this growth, I'm shaking my hands back and forth, that actually helps you settle into something that actually feels right.
Mm, yeah, it's a great technique, a great thing to do. Well, listening to you, Alex, I keep coming back to this idea that alignment isn't a place we arrive. It is a practice that we're living, right? And what you've shared today is such a reminder that when our ambition serves our authenticity, growth stops being a grind and really starts feeling like purpose in motion. So it's not chasing the system. It's coming back to the home that is already built within our passion, as I saw on a social post a
I
couple of
like
days
that, but
ago.
I like that. I feel like I have this whiteboard. I'm writing things down. Like, oh, I like that. That's a Lisa quote. Like, so
There we go. So, where can people find you as we wrap up today?
yeah, sure. So obviously, if you're on social media, the place that I really spend time on is Instagram. So if everybody just types in my name, Alex Kuhn, Kuhn, you'll find me. Okay. So I don't think there's many Alex Kuhns out there. So I literally will pop up first. And one thing that Lisa knows and everybody knows in my world is that if you do follow me, you might get a automated message as your first message, but know if you respond, you're going to hear from me. I have built my entire business to literally be able to talk to people all day. People think that's crazy, that's shocking, but as I tell everybody, it's like what brings me joy, what brings me life, and I get to determine how much I want to talk or how little I want to talk on a daily basis. So please know you will hear directly from me. But the thing I tell everybody, especially if you are the face of the business, it's why you need to work with Lisa. You need to get to a deeper level of authenticity and clarity in many, many facets that you just are not asking your questions. And when you get to that level and you're like, now I'm ready to grow, now I'm ready to scale, now I'm ready to put all the pieces together, that's when you come to me. There's not many people that are better on this planet that work with face of the business people, because you and I and everybody listening there knows there is a combination of energy, a combination of focus, and how you put those pieces together requires a level of depth, a level of care, and maybe most importantly, a level of experience that very few people have. And so make it simple for everybody. If you go to thefaceofthebusiness.com, there is an assessment. I want to tell everybody this is an assessment that has been worked on for about 6 years. And I know that seems silly, but it has 34 workflows. You can't cheat it. And it's really going to give you some simple, clear answers as to why you are struggling. And I assure everybody there, you're going to be shocked at what you find, because you think the answer is one thing. And I assure you, almost everybody tells me, I couldn't believe that's the response I got. Okay. Faceofthebusiness.com.
All right. Well, you've got my curiosity up, and to have 34 workflows, like this is not something that was done overnight. So there's got to be a lot of science and thought about it. So yeah, we'll definitely put all of these things in the show notes, folks, and make sure you check that out. But Alex, thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate you.
Yeah. And what you shared really reminds us that sustainable success doesn't come from systems alone. It comes from the ability to step outside that formula and system when it doesn't make sense. It's about being aligned with who we are while pursuing what we're meant to build. And so if you want to connect with Alex, we're going to put all those links in the show notes. And if today's conversation stirred something inside of you, you're realizing it's time to bring your ambition back into alignment with your authenticity. As Alex said, I'm a great foundation, and then I've got someone really accomplished to pass you off to, so we can work as a team there. So until next time, remember, authenticity isn't a strategy, it's a frequency, and you can move beyond the status of stuck by staying tuned to yours. Thanks for being with us. I'll see you here next week.